Well, at least she's not locked up for having sex with children, right? Just thieving and willful murder. Because only men can be predators, right? Jared Scudder, out of the 7 hours that he spent with me, let's take a look at this, him and his dad. His dad helped me with moving my stuff and with the storage stuff. And although it took a lot more hours to get it done, there was a lot of stuff that he had to do because of poverty, because of broken vehicles and family issues due to those vehicles, and of course, pre-existing appointments. But he still spent more than an hour, well more than an hour, getting all that stuff moved and getting it up the stairs and getting it where it needed to go. He brought his vehicle and used his gas. There's also the 3 hours that he sat with me and Jared. Sure, he didn't do a whole lot. He was a witness to at least one of the situations. Well, more than one, because he was also a witness to how hard I've tried to get help. How hard I have gone to work around their schedule because they're it. And how much working around that schedule has resulted in more crimes being committed against me that I can't turn in. I have to wait till someone's willing to make time. And then when somebody's willing to make time, then I get told that I took too long to turn it in. But if I turn it in alone by myself, I get disrespected and talked over. Where instead of me getting to tell what happened, I get an officer who's talking over me and selling his own narrative over the top of what I'm saying. Literally not hearing a word I had to say, just like officers in Natalie Bollinger's situation and her family's situation and their rampant gang stalking against me. When I literally had to pretend to be one of them to get heard. Had to do so loud and proud on the fucking internet in order to get heard, in the hopes that, yeah, one of my predators would turn it in and maybe I'd get a day in court, because all of my fucking friends were lazy, sexist pieces of shit. But Jared Scudder, he did in fact spend 7 hours helping me. Because see, there was the 3 hours that I was over at his house, and then there's the 3 hours at the library, and he showed up before that too, if you might notice. So over 7 hours, because he also spent an hour with myself and that officer, and some of the stuff before and after was sending evidence or getting evidence to him so he can turn it in. Because if I turn it in, especially if I turn it in alone, I'll get blown off. If he tries to turn it in alone, he'll get blown off. He'll get told, well, you can't turn it in for someone else. You know what? He absolutely fucking can. He absolutely can. The things that I've been forced to do out of necessity, you really think I want to be stuck out here in public? You really think that I want tweakers knocking on my fucking window at all hours of the night? Or cops? Or fucking nut jobs like Molly? Do you really think I chose this? No, I don't have any other options. Oh, you guys are going to be like, oh, you always got the option of suicide. Yeah, thanks, guys. You're swell. Jason Scudder, although he really didn't do much other than just be there for moral support, the thing is, he was there with a smile. He was there with some comedic support. The whole talking about guns and shooting people thing does make me feel uncomfortable. And I say that a lot. You guys have no idea. Almost probably over half of my phone calls with people who don't work with these professional services want to talk about, they want to interrupt what I'm saying to talk about how they'd hurt or kill people. You don't stop to understand how much that hurts me and how that's not help. But he did show up, and he wasn't trying to be malicious about the situation. Kara stayed out in the vehicle for 3 hours too. Did you know that? They made sure that somebody was at their vehicle to keep it and their things safe. And Athena had to sit through all that too. If you don't know who Athena is, then you haven't been paying attention to my videos. Or you've only been on here for about 5 months, because Athena is a really, really, really super sweet dog. Those of you who were watching the videos when I first ended up leaving Hood River, Jack Frost is a dog that I got to meet in that. And Jack Frost's owner, his name is, hold on, not John Little. It's, I guess it doesn't matter much. This is about Jared and Jason Scudder and what they've done and the amount of hours that they've spent. You know, altogether, it's about 14 hours of labor and time that they've spent. Probably closer to 15. That's in the last week. Maybe a week and a half. You know, when you've got a job where you're working 40 hours a week, like Jared is, 40 hours or more, that extra 7 or 8 hours is a lot. So I'm not ungrateful for that, not in the least bit. The problem is that the issues that they have, those aren't my fault, but they are hindrances to me. They are roadblocks to me, because the people that I have to go to, because the professionals won't take the time, won't allow my disabilities to even exist, so they can do what they're supposed to do for an at-risk and disabled person. They're supposed to help me to get the services to turn in my predators. We're not talking about going through and trying to get housing and being stuck on a housing list for 2 years. That's not it. A place for the victim to sit down with the evidence and process it in peace and quiet is necessary. A place where they can make their telephone calls is necessary. And when a lot of this stuff is force you to send it through the internet is fucking necessary. When you're a disabled person and people can just call you mentally ill and then do whatever they want, you're at a much higher risk of that, especially if you're a male, especially if you're homeless. Which is why you have the right to record 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if you have the ability to do so, which most of you don't. Jared worked with me to make sure that we could record the situation in its entirety, keep things safe that needed to be kept safe without giving them out to the public, without it being necessary to give out to the public. What would have happened to my stuff if Scott Scudders helped me? What would have happened to it? That's right. It probably would have gotten taken. I probably would have gotten a citation. Even though I wasn't guilty of committing a crime, I was in a fucked up circumstance and people took advantage of it, as you often do, and it's okay for you to do it. When a woman promises a man that she's going to help him how he needs, instead of just being words, and she gives those false promises in order to get that man to spend his resources to get that help that never shows up because she's fucking drunk. That is taking advantage of an at-risk adult. And just because you're an alcoholic doesn't make it okay. Just because you're on methamphetamines doesn't make it okay. The thing is that the police will ignore literally any and all crimes committed against a homeless person. The only thing to make them pretend like they might do their job is to get someone else involved, but that person has to actually care and they have to push it. Instead of the I'm sorry thing. There's no gray line about somebody bearing their ass at me. When you say, oh, I don't want to record because I think it's rude, what that's showing me is that you're going out of your way to create a situation that is unsafe for me. You are intentionally creating an unsafe environment for me by trying to make it your word versus mine, and that can never be allowed. Whether it come to an at-risk adult or anyone else, nobody should be allowed to withhold or destroy evidence, not even law enforcement. And no victim should be prevented from showing the truth or be forced into a situation where they have to be afraid to go to law enforcement because of their gender or because they have to worry about retaliation by law enforcement. And what's everybody's big idea? Expensive shit like you should just move. The stuff that I show Jared, it shows that I tell the truth. The stuff that I've shown to Mandy Singer shows that I tell the truth. The things that they said about their personal lives, those are important in court. They're important in court because they show that my predators in law enforcement knowingly, willingly, and intelligently lied repeatedly, not just to myself, but to other witnesses, in order to prevent it from coming to court, in order to prevent them from actually having to do their jobs. They want to take your money, but not do the work. At least Jared Scudder and Jason Scudder showed up to be actual help in actual useful work. Thank you, gentlemen. You're both rock stars. But also your trials and tribulations and the stuff that you have to go through to try to make this time and look at this evidence. A lot of these folks who said there's no way a person could go through all that. There's no way I could go through all that. Well, if you can't go through all of it, then why ask me to send it to you? Why say if I send it to you, you'll take a look and you'll speak out? If you're going to tell me there's no possible way that anybody could possibly go through all of that, then that's what I need you to tell the Adult Protective Services. When you've seen repeated pieces of evidence that are just screenshots that show obvious threats against my life, that they have been ongoing and long-term, that it has been for multiple years, that it is, in fact and indeed, over the situation with Natalie Bollinger and the slander I was never allowed to defend myself against. You guys want to pretend that I'm a horrible person who deserves all of this because eventually I had to do desperate shit back. Because of your sexism. Because of your racism. Yours. Now here's something to take into account. Jared Scudder spent 7 hours. Jared Scudder and Jason Scudder both. That's 14 hours, not to mention the hours that I've put in. How far have we gotten? How much have we gotten accomplished? Has APS been contacted yet? No, because he's got to know what the fuck is going on and be able to verify it first, and that takes time. And then there's stuff that I'm expected to do from these conditions. I can't function in these positions. I am scared shitless of some fucking junkie or some fucking cop or some property owner treating me like I'm a shitty person because I have nowhere else to go and no fucking money because I'm constantly being run off because I have a dick, because I'm homeless, because I'm not pretty. So you guys say, oh, look at Zayd Atkinson. Look at his friend. Look how great they are because they recorded it. And then you look at me and you go, oh, Sean, you're a horrible person for recording it. Go fuck yourselves. You change the rule based on whoever it is that you want to hate. Just like a Christian. It's gross.